Aiden?
We're live. Oh my gosh.
We're live, everybody. Welcome to the Google Ads. I don't even know what it's called anymore, but where Kate and I talk about Google Ads things. But today we're actually going to be talking about different things besides Google Ads. We're going omni-channel. So everyone out there in YouTube land that likes Facebook, shame on you, but this will help you too. So we're going to be talking about kind of the different ways that those two work together, but actually not necessarily inside of Google. It's going to be still MER focused because no one can control the way that people buy from you. You can influence it, but you can't control it. So we're going to talk about the PMax brand, Advantage Plus shopping, the different ways that we've actually optimized Advantage Plus shopping, and when we turn on and turn off specific campaigns where Amazon comes into play and what you need to do over there. So it is going to be a really, really, really fun episodes. The Merman is back. That's right, Dave. We're going to be talking about Merman things. So we got some people chatting in. Someone just used their name of John Moran's dog. Hold on. Wait, here, hold on. There he is.
He's always so relaxed. He's just chilling.
He's just the super chill dog. He's my buddy. He's 14. He loves spending time in here, and he's my buddy. Yep. When he's what's 14 times 7 in dog years? Jeez, someone in the chat do that math. 14 times 7. I'm bad at math, and I run Google Ads for a living. Go figure.
98.
He's about 100 years old and human, so he just naps all the time. So that's cool. But yeah, awesome name, John Moran's dog. That is hilarious. Dave says, hey, Dave. Aussie says, hello from Tel Aviv. Look at that. We are international. It's crazy. Dylan. Hey, Dylan. Ignite. What up, nerds? I take that as a compliment. So what up? And I hope you're a nerd as well. Maya says, love your dog. And then you got actually a picture of you and your dog. That's so great. That's awesome. A lot of dog lovers. And for the record, dogs are better than cats. Let's begin. So, I want to share with you all a case study, and it's actually a pet brand, which is pretty cool. But this is going to be a case study that is, it looks bad, but that's just because the way that the client has set up conversion tracking, we never actually were able to complete the entire path of the conversion tracking. Long story short, they have 3 upsells, and only the people that buy a product and then say no to the first upsell, no to the second upsell, and then no to the third upsell, then gets a conversion to be tracked. So I'm missing probably about half of the conversions, maybe more. I think as soon as you hit the first thank you page, you probably just, bounce after that without going through all 3. So long story short, that's the reason why this case study is going to look a little funky, but it is real important to understand your traffic flow. And understand what campaign types are, what they're doing, and how they're helping you. Oh, look at him. He's there you go. He wanted to be in the shot. Awesome. So before we get into Q&A, we're going to present this case study. Kate and I are going to rap back and forth about it. And ready to go. Caden, anything to add before we begin?
No, I think we're good to go.
Cool. So I'm going to share screen here. And I think there we are. So this is February 1 through April 13th. Now, what you're going to see here on the screen is 2 simple campaigns. A brand campaign a brand campaign here that's just inbound search brand. And then a PMax feed only that's been upgraded from Smart Shopping that has brand negated. So there still is. It slips through every now and then. We have a reasoning why. But it has brand negated. But this is something that I wanted to share with you as a simple case study. So all the way back since January, essentially, we've been running different kind of campaign types with, minimal success. I mean, it's very hard to spend, $56,000 to make 50 or spend $21,000 to make 36,000. And when it's pretty much all coming into the brand. Now, this client has a very long conversion path. And that's important to understand because this conversion path here is 17 days for primarily a dog joint supplement. One of the reasons why this is a 17-day conversion path is not because it takes 17 days for a person to purchase, but it's because on average they purchase repeatedly. So when you're tracking all of your conversions, the first thing to know is that when you see 355 out of 514, this is typically your first sale from your last click. Remember, your conversion lag is coming from a point of impression, not from click. So you're taking 17 days from your first impression, but then usually after the first click, you're going to make majority of your money, 2/3. And then you're going to see it kind of whittle down to 11 after 1 or 2 days, then 6, 9, 6, 1, 2, and it's going to whittle off. But there's a bell curve. And this is important because people are going to buy whichever way, shape, and form they can if they like the product. And that's important to know. So I'm setting the stage here for the bell curve of repeating. This goes towards LTV, lifetime value. This client has a very good lifetime value, a very good return rate. Where you're showing up matters. So look at the bell curve from here. When you get out to 30 to 45, 45 to 60, and 60 to 90, you'll see it pops up 23 more sales, 20 more sales, 37 more sales. So 60 to 90, 2 to 3 months later, we make another $4,400. Okay, so now that we know that this is a very long conversion path, Dave says, how many conversions have you had since January? 514. So this is a very long conversion path, and then they repeat. I count every because I want to see what LTV is. That's how you count. That's how you count LTV. So now that we know this, the client during the first 3 months, we actually revised their Facebook strategy. We did Advantage Plus shopping. Let me just get the time period here. So the first kind of January 1st through March 8th, they were on a very good growth path. You can see that the comparison, you'll see 34% more online sales, recharge subscriptions up 22%, Facebook and Instagram up 83%, even though it's a small amount here. You'll see that their direct is up 15, their socials up 70. We're going to ignore the 72 for right now because that's going to come to importance later. But if you turn off the comparison, you can see here that this is looking great. Sales on its way up. First time customers on its way up. Your sessions on its way up. Average order value stay the same. Orders on up. Sales attributed to marketing, 40 grand out of 400 grand. Looks horrible. But the direct traffic is worth 239,000 out of that 400. They have a 40% return rate. So January 1st through March 8th. And January 1st through March 8th, we're looking inside of Google, saying, man, this stinks. Now, we weren't tracking all the conversions, but at that time, we spent 43,000 to make 33,000. We got a 0.78 ROAS. Now, LTV would have made this up because this is primarily, there is a lot of new customers here, but this is bad, right? Looks really, really horrible. We tried everything. YouTube. We tried PMax full build, PMax feed only, standard shopping only, standard shopping DSA, so everything, pure broad, everything. Couldn't make this work. Found out later it was because of the stupid broken thank you page, but that's neither here nor there. Still, the efforts that we were producing were still there. So then we said, you know what? It doesn't seem to be working. I told the client, if I can't produce the results that you need, I'm going to stop charging you while I figure this out. So I stopped charging them completely. And we paused the campaigns. Now, they were still running here just a little bit because I was waiting for feed only to kind of kick in because I was just going to set it on a nice set it, forget it, retargeting campaign. So March 8th rolls around. And if you look at the comparison here, you see that we're at 34% up. Everything is just, great. Everything's looking awesome. So we shut off the brand and shut off the PMax campaign until about March 22nd. So 8th to the 22nd. And then the scale stops. They're still spending more and more and more on Facebook. They haven't stopped. They actually hit the gas a little bit further. They reallocated the ad spend from Google and put it into Facebook. Now, what's interesting here is when you're looking at the trends all the way up to March 7th here, and I'm going to turn off the comparison. The only thing that kind of saved them was a St. Patty's Day sale. But if you're looking at the overall trends, which is what you want to start to track. The last thing is the 21st here. You can see that. No, come on, Shopify. There we go. We can see that as soon as we started to halt, we hit a point where we went from a nice scale, and then we scale up here, and then this started to tank here, minus this one sale that happened on this date here. So now all of a sudden we're looking, we actually started to reduce in our efficiency. Sales started to level off. as soon as we stopped our Google Ads campaign. So you can kind of see here the good total orders, nice scale, flat line, good sale, tanking. And it was just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. From the 18th to the 21st, this kind of this last week of after the sale, when you're compared to the previous period, things are now 42% down. Just hitting the ground. Really, really, really bad. Yes, it was post-sale, but they were even spending more and more and more. And all of a sudden, everything's starting to look worse. So then we said, okay, well, geez, we'll just turn everything back on. So we turned everything back on because we just figured it had to have been something to do with the issues that we're seeing with all of our spend stop. Turn everything back on, scale back up. Comparing to the big sale before, now we're on a nice path back up. We're starting to beat our previous weeks, especially, 119 and 93, 132 compared to 79, 111 compared to 66, 113 compared to 54. So now everything's starting to show back up. Well, one thing was, yes, we realized that the conversion tracking was broken at this time, but also that we needed to turn everything back on because regardless of what Google was saying, this was producing a lot more results. During this same time, we also revised it right here after 23rd. We revised their Facebook strategy. They were on Advantage Plus Shopping. The Advantage Plus Shopping was putting all of their ads into one Advantage Plus Shopping campaign because you can only optimize for a conversion. It's the Advantage Plus. You have to optimize for one event. So when we started to revise their Advantage Plus Shopping campaign, we wanted brand and PMax feed only to be around in order to scoop up that additional demand that's coming in from Facebook and Instagram. So we revised our Advantage Plus Shopping by taking all their videos, putting in one Advantage Plus Shopping campaign, took all their images, put them in another one. Then we put our shopping ads in another one. And then we started to basically take, the zombie ads that showed good result, but low volume, and then place them into new campaigns. We basically started to well diversify ourselves inside of the Advantage Plus Shopping campaign. And since then, it's scaled up not only on Facebook and on Google, but also even on the back end of their website. Everything started to jump up. It was getting much, much, much better. So, 136% increase in conversions. PMax showed a 486% increase in conversions. Everything's, hunky-dory. Now we're spending 11 to make 12. Better than what we were before. Still, we're still not tracking all the conversions. We have a dev team working on it because it's a nightmare. But long story short, everything's starting to now look better, and everything's back to normal. Here's what's interesting, though. During this time period of January 1st to March 8th, before the crash, when everything was scaling up, search was up 72%. The search network, primarily Google ads. That was one of the things that also tanked the hardest, that also tanked the direct and even tanked the social. We know that they work together. What we didn't realize was how much they're working together, that when you pull one, the other one fails. If we pulled Facebook, obvious that Google would fail. We pull Google, Facebook stops scaling, stops performing well. The ROAS started to just drive down, and then it started to drive down harder when they started to spend more and more and more on Facebook and got a less conversion value. More spend, less conversion value. ROAS was flipped upside down. It was really, really bad. CPAs doubled, ROAS cut in half, yada, yada, yada. What we know for sure, and this is something that I actually just talked about on a podcast earlier today, is that when you look at the conversion paths, something that we do in Northbeam for fun now is we select all besides Google, and then we select nothing but Google. And what this is going to produce is a report that started anywhere else but Google and then stopped on Google, ended on Google. And what's really interesting is you'll see that the Advantage Plus Shopping, this is a different client now, by the way. This Advantage Plus Shopping, you'll have things that have like Advantage Plus Shopping, then PMax feed only. And that's 40 people clicked on that path, 40 people converted at $2,100. You'll see that PMax feed only is going to be the secondary conversion, whether it's to my own campaigns, to referrals, which are organic, to returning customers, to direct. PMax, yes, is the last step of the funnel, but it is a step. It does matter. So this group of here ended on PMax. This group down here, a lot of times ended on PMax or brand. So Google does play a part even if it's not the first click, it is often the last step in the sequence. So you can kind of see how much overlap it is between all these other channels where it's Facebook, 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 Facebook. You see how they're overlapping a lot. It's not one versus the other. It's how often are they helping each other. For when you're talking about, and John Moran's talk for your new PMax shopping strategy, how do you recommend dividing up standard shopping for best way if the customer has a lot of products? We'll go into that here because this is something I didn't do in this campaign here, which is so funny that you bring that up because I didn't do that model here because I couldn't track the conversions well, and I thought everything was really, really, really bad. That this is the reason why this campaign is relying on Facebook and Facebook's relying on this campaign. It doubles down on that point so much that when you say, if you're not developing your own traffic for Performance Max to capture, Performance Max captures everyone else's traffic. It does help though. So here's a second half to the story though, because this is where it also gets even more interesting omni-channel. When we paused the brand campaign, people were still Googling the brand name. When they were Googling the brand name, this wasn't showing up here. And actually, the first search ad or first search category that's not us was actually Amazon at the time. So Amazon was actually starting to get better and better performance. People still wanted to buy the product. They just weren't coming to Google, which means they weren't coming back to the website. So what we saw is I told the client, I said, hey, by the way, start to spend a lot on Amazon on your brand name. So now when you go to Amazon and type in the brand name, there's the sponsored ads here. This has actually been week over week since March 21st. They've had better and better sales in Amazon than they've ever had before. It is increased by 54% because they're only bidding on their own brand name on Amazon. Why? Top of funnel campaigns like Facebook do a very good job. Unless you spend a lot of money for a long time, brand names sometimes become secondary to the solution that you're trying to fix. I know I need a immune support for my dog. I know I need, joint support for my dog, whatever it is. So people then go to Amazon and they start typing in the immune support for dogs, and whoever is bidding on immune support, or if you remember the name, and you bid on and you start to type in the name on Amazon and someone else shows first on mobile, remember it's vertical. So the first two are not you, and you lose the sale that you earned on Amazon, but you earned on Facebook, but lost on Amazon. So the whole thing started to change over into whatever top of funnel campaigns you have. If you're on Amazon, spend on your brand name on Amazon, and it works like a brand campaign on Google. Brand was helping Facebook. PMax was helping Facebook. Amazon brand helping Facebook. It's put us into a scale, not only on Shopify, but also a scale on Amazon. People, when they want to buy something, will buy. It doesn't matter the conversion path that they use. Your job is to understand the conversion path that is being used and be there to scale. You can't take a chunk of the funnel out and then say, good enough. It doesn't work like that anymore. People are instant gratification. Everything's instant gratification. People out there are getting pissed off that they don't want to watch 5 seconds skippables of YouTube because 5 seconds is not, it's an instant gratification that they want that YouTube video now. So I wanted to kind of share this with everyone as a case study that I thought was really interesting, that Google was doing more to help Facebook than we saw. And then when we didn't show up where people wanted us to show up, they clicked on something else that showed up and bought from somewhere else. Even if they weren't even buying our product. They needed that product. And Amazon was doing really good because whenever someone wanted to remember who we were remarketing them on YouTube, GSP, Display, Discover with PLAs. We're showing up at shopping. We're showing up at search. Then we show up. We didn't show up on Amazon. That's why Amazon kind of just chugged along. We start bidding on our own brand name, which shouldn't do anything. Sales started to increase. Best months or best weeks ever for the last 2.5 weeks. Really interesting stuff. So, Ken, I just wanted to see if you have anything to kind of add and share about this scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I think the moral of the story just comes down to like everything interacts with the other, and so taking out one piece of the puzzle can break the whole entire funnel, like John just showed. And I think as marketers, looking at the thing holistically allows you to have a better understanding of like what your funnel is, number one, and then number two, like where to focus after that. Because like you just said, John, I mean, if you take budget out of Google, you saw everything tank. It's not that we're just going to run a brand campaign and then, we can always scoop that up organically. There's like all these other channels and all these other buying paths that still have to take effect. And in addition to that too, I'm sure there's, overlap of people that might have needed to see like that dynamic remarketing come back again and again to sort of reintroduce the brand again. And that's not in every case too. That's always like, case by case basis, because in some cases, you take off PMax, then you find out, okay, they could just go organic and direct and we don't have to remarket those users. But I think it's just one of those extra sort of like tools that we can add in and say, okay, if Facebook's doing really well, see if there's a correlation. If there isn't, then look where you can turn off some of the ad spend, which typically be, overspending and remarketing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, in some cases, like you just showed, it's not always the best decision to make.
Yeah, and the other part too, I think it's kind of like a advanced strategy that we've been implementing with more clients that are on Amazon as well, is Amazon is sometimes next day, most of the time free 2-day arrival. So it's free shipping. It arrives in 2 days. My credit card's already on Amazon. I have one button that will deliver it to my house in 2 days for free. If you're not doing that on your site, you're going to lose your sales to Amazon. I think everyone can kind of agree. Amazon is what's like 40% of all e-commerce that happens now online is Amazon. Like it's ridiculous. It used to be 30 like 5 years ago. Now it's 40. And that's because people adopted it. People are starting to go on Amazon and put the product on there because it's free traffic. You're going to pay for it in terms of profit margin, but it's free traffic. So we're looking at the different ways that people buy. What we found out is that if you actually don't put all of your SKUs on Amazon, if you keep your SKUs limited to Amazon to maybe what has a very good sale, it doesn't have to be the best. It can be the best. It depends on your SKUs. If you have 300, put 5 that really work well. If you have 3 products, maybe put 1, maybe not make it the best one, because then all of your sales are going to happen on Amazon. But it depends upon your concentration of SKU purchases. The higher the concentration, the riskier it gets. The lower the concentration, the more you can adjust how many SKUs you want to place on Amazon. But if you have price matched and at least shipping close, like it might be free 5-day shipping on your site, but then free Amazon, okay. Because what's interesting about this is if they go to Amazon to buy it and the SKU that they want is not on Amazon, they will come back to your site, which is good. Means you can measure your top of funnel performance better. You can actually acquire that customer's information, which Amazon doesn't give you. You don't shut off Amazon as a channel. You still have a good amount of sales coming from them. You still can increase that and test your top of funnel activities. You can use Moz links if you want and actually do Amazon attribution, which means sending your own search traffic to your own store on Amazon. I'll share with you a technique that we do there. But you can always make sure that your Amazon isn't ignored or that your competitors aren't scooping up your brand name on Amazon. But you don't want to have all of your concentration on Amazon because they take a large piece of that profit margin. I mean, imagine if having a 300% ROAS on Google, you're going to have a 400% ROAS on Amazon because they're going to take 10, 15, 20% of your profit margin, whatever it may be. It depends on how much size your box takes up on the shelf at the warehouse for Prime. So all of these pieces work together. What's so interesting, though, is Facebook is driving all of the demand for this client. And I know we have a question that says, John, when you say Google's helping Facebook, are you saying that PMax campaigns are directing your Google traffic to Facebook funnels? No. It means that Facebook's earning the click. And your average impression on Facebook, your average frequency on Facebook is about 2.1 with advanced shopping campaigns, which means I get 2 impressions, hopefully a click. And man, I hope they come back. So then Google picks up and says, I'll hit them on YouTube, GSP, search, shopping, display, discover with the shopping ad that they saw. And I'll drive them to the website and get them to convert. They go to Google and type in the brand name. I'm there on shopping and on search. So that's where Facebook is driving a new user that Google then picks up the ball and runs it through the end zone. Can you scale Google? No. Can you scale Facebook? No. Can you scale Facebook and Google? Yes. So you're having 2 pieces of the puzzle. It's like the baton runners. They run around the track and then they pass the baton. It's like saying, hey, can we have the first person who's exhausted run twice as long, twice as fast? No. Okay, what if we just put the second person there? No one's feeding that person the baton. It's the same situation. You need to have your channels working together. And it's going to be a very harsh opinion, but if you're still looking at your media mix or you're a Google Ads agency that says, I got to beat Facebook, if you're a Facebook ads agency that says, I got to beat Google, you're going to lose. You will. Well, no, you may win, but the client's going to lose, which means you're fired. So you'll now lose. So don't win the battle to lose the war. Make your client more successful by identifying the ways that your client's customers like to buy from your client. And your only job is to increase that efficiency. Can't increase the efficiency if you're locked into a tunnel vision of one channel. Think outside the box a bit. I said this in a 2-hour power hour that we just had before this, and anybody that's watching right now, I think there's like 30 people live watching right now, and people are going to watch this afterwards. But I want to give you a bit of homework. If anybody's planning on buying anything this week, write down all the channels you went to. We did this as an exercise internally in our own solutions in our own Google Ads agency. And I said, who's looking to buy something this week? One person said, I'm going to buy shoes. And I said, okay, where did you look? They're like, well, I looked at TikTok, then I looked at Instagram. And when I buy, I'm probably going to go just to that website and buy direct. It's like, okay. So you went through probably a Google brand, or you went and searched the brand name. You also looked at TikTok, and you also researched them on Instagram. Why doesn't everyone measure that way? Very little time, unless you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and your couch is floating in your living room and you need a plumber now. Okay, you're not going to go on TikTok. But that's 1% of the ecosystem. When you're looking at what is going to be your conversion path, you are researching. You're looking at YouTube videos. You're searching on YouTube. That's discovery. If you're looking at YouTube videos, there's YouTube. Google the brand name, that's brand. You're Googling types of shoes and getting prices, that's shopping. You're going to go over and check out their Instagram to see all their other pictures and how it looks with dresses attached to them. There's your social. Then when you're like, you know what? I found their product on Amazon. So make sure that when you're buying something this week, actually this month, whenever you buy something this month, write down what you remember when you first heard about it, why you trust it. You see 15 YouTube videos and 20 Instagram ads on a specific item. You naturally inherently trust that item. So when you do a cold traffic search and you see the item pop up in shop, you're like, I remember those people. I like them. I remember everyone in the comments thought it was really, really good. I'm going to go buy it. Your inbound search cold traffic is going to have a great conversion rate because people recognize the name. That happens from top of funnel investments. So more omni-channel thinking today. More ways to identify your client's top conversion path. You don't have to be an expert in Facebook and Instagram and Google and YouTube. And you don't have to be an expert there. You need to be an expert at understanding the flow. Those are the people that will win. Everyone else is going to be in their corner fighting. And then a big agency that comes in that's kind of good at everything also takes over. Then they kind of screw it up. Take yourself out of that equation.
Well, and to add on to that point too, like when John's saying like Facebook leans over to Performance Max, you could have the reverse. It's more just likelihoods that come to it at the end of the day. So we're not saying that Google's going to be always bottom of funnel. It's still going to have top of funnel aspects to it, and you can still leverage other top of funnel campaigns within that. It's just one of those things where you want to have it supplement each other for the best results. Mm-hmm. And that kind of goes into like, key points that we were, sort of bringing up too. You're looking at costs and you see cost goes up, one medium, over results go down. And you can kind of tie that as, the effect of what that's doing. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to point that out as well.
And our 3 biggest clients at Solutions 8, they flip-flop between the biggest client is Google first. The second biggest client is Facebook. The third biggest client's almost break even between the two. Really interesting how that works. Now, that also has to depend on, if you're not the agency, how good is that other agency that's doing the other channel? But yeah, it's conversion path is how people like to buy, where they've heard about you first, how good are those ads, and how they're working together. Let's go into kind of some Q&A. Anything else to add, Caden, on this?
No, I think that sums up most of it. Yeah. No,
awesome. Good. Cool. So we got Soren Tutu. Soren, you're a longtime viewer. I appreciate you being here. Hey, John, following your advice and Corey's, we've had an account review from a so-called big company, and they didn't even try to take over the account. That's awesome. Yep. Like we call that job security, Soren. That's awesome. Larry, any question, any pro tips, best practices for a service company that only wants emergency service calls? If not emergency, doesn't want the click. What is the best ad strategy for this? I am glad you asked that, Larry, because I have a client that I have actually grown and optimized off of this exact scenario. It's called, they're an animal emergency clinic. And I can say this because unless you're in Deerfield, Florida, or 10 miles around there, we're not going to compete against each other. So happy to kind of share this strategy with you. But get ready for, I'm going to throw up in my mouth type of results, good and bad. So looking at this client here, I'm just going to go back to October. I mean, we're consistent, very, very, very consistent. I run one campaign from October. I spent $250,000. Big campaign. I managed everything down into just this one. When you're looking at the conversion action, 420 of these are 309 calls from the website, 110 calls from the ads. It's just emergency calls. Very, very similar. Now, check this out. I use only exact match keywords. And my exact match keywords, I bid $75 per click. I get 32. I bid 75. If you are not number one, you lose. How it goes. No one's going to be looking for an emergency and be like, oh, don't look at the first result. Why? I don't know. Jump to the second. Does that ever make sense in any sort of scenario? Never. So my conversion rates are good. I'm getting a 5% conversion rate. It's not too bad. The reason why we have these big spikes is because we actually have one other big competitor that when they turn their ads on, we die. And then they turn their ads off, we win. Like we literally fight over the same 50 people a day. It's Animal Emergency Clinic. Rover is choking. That's not a demand thing. That is a circumstance thing. So I can't help that. I got 10-mile radius of Rover choking. When there's two big agencies here, we're going to fight over peanuts. So I have to bid high. And that was the ad group. When you look at the auction insight, it's, I think, Family Pet Medical Center. You can see the overlap rate is, or absolute top of page rate. I'm 83. They're 48. Top of page rate, 80, 89. If I don't bid over them, they win. And my client's just dead the entire night. We'll spend $1,500 on 50 clicks. Nothing will happen because we're number two. Go figure. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense, but I've been doing this for 2 years. And if I'm not number one all the time and way overbidding, the volume will decrease when the other person comes into play because Google will flip-flop us. They just naturally will. I bid probably $25 higher than they do, and they get to show up 1/3 of the time. I can't control that, neither can you. So you have to overbid because Google will never allow a person just to be perfectly stuck in number one position, even if you're bidding $1,000 a click. They will cycle you out. That's why Google got rid of average positioning, called top impression share. But only emergency calls, you're number one. You're bidding only for emergency keywords or what is an emergency service. So Animal Clinic, again, we only run our hours from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. So you have to be in the middle of the night with all vets closed, and you need to be looking for closest animal hospital. Emergency vet near me. Animal Hospital Boca Raton, because that's the city that we're in. Animal Medical Hospital. Like, no one's going to be like, hey, I need to get, Rover a grooming appointment tomorrow. So I did emergency vet near me at 1 a.m. So run them at the times that they're emergency based, where you can get really aggressive to the highest chance that you're going to win. And you will win. But you'll pay dearly for it. Our average call, it cost us, actually my cost per conversion in this campaign on average since October 1st is, okay, load faster. Please hold. $599 per emergency call. As soon as they show up at the clinic, it's at $2,500 just to see the animal. So I got a 5x return if they show up, and they show up a lot because it's emergency. I'm the only one there. So yeah, adjust as needed, but I can afford myself a very high click because I make $2,500 each time they walk in the front door. Any other strategies, Caden?
I was just going to highlight the point that's like pretty much like up against margins at that point. Like that's the most black and white, I feel like, version of like how much can we pay maximum for this and how much are we going to get maximum for this. There's no like, weird like, okay, let's do conversion based bidding and then beat out this because we have more data. It's no, like number one, like whoever's showing up first gets it. And if you have better profitability, as sad as it sounds, you're going to do a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, because they have to do like, blood, x-rays, all that kind of stuff. It's a package. Like if you're walking in there, they have other animals there. Like sometimes you get the people that are just like, he keeps coughing. It's like, okay. Sometimes people will pay $2,500 for a full workup and they can't stop coughing, whatever it is. But yeah, that's exactly right. I make a 5x return if they come in the front door. Larry. Oh, wait. I don't know. I see Dave says, Larry, I did that. Oh, yeah. Hey, Dave says, I did that with manual CPC and bid really high. Hey, me too, Dave. It's so cool. What is your experience of using shopping PMax targeting countries that do not speak English as a primary language with product feed and website in English? We usually don't do that. We'll try to target a country that has a fairly high predominant English language. So I think of Barcelona, for example, Spain. Spain has a very high English-speaking population, very bilingual. I think it was like 52% of the population speaks English. I'm not going to dump US-based, English-based ad spend into it, but you can grow it and you can identify an audience. So my opinion is start small. Make sure that it's not like, a country that only speaks 5% English and you're like $2,000 a day. Like, don't do that. Like, start small, see if you can identify your audiences, identify specific conversion actions, and Google will lean into those more. But don't just hit it full gas and run. Proof of concept first, then scale, knowing that you're going to be scaling probably slower because Google's going to have to try to find 1/10 of the population you want. Yeah, thanks, Dave. So I'm assuming because I have too many negatives and exact matches limiting the impressions, the max conversion campaign can't get any traction. So actually, yeah, Larry, I would say that don't use max conversions for emergency. What it's going to do is it's going to try to algorithmically predict a user who is going to convert. Again, Rover's choking. They're not going to have literally any insight into Google's algorithm that they're going to click. The first time that they search and click is probably about 6 seconds worth of data to decide with Google that a maximized conversion bidding strategy would be good for that person. Bid manual for sure. Dave goes, how many conversions have you had? And I answered his question. He goes, Dave is talking to Larry John. That's what Dave said. It's so good. All right, Maya. Hey, Maya. Hi, John. We have been spending over 30K a month on YouTube, 16K spent on what audience that isn't getting close to a 0.5 CTR and only a 2.22% view rate. Should I stop this audience and let the other get more data, or should I wait longer? I don't want to touch the video to not mess up with the video sequence. So that's the thing too, is if Google is not going to start to ignore spend on that video, keep it running. So I want to share with everybody how YouTube works specifically when we talk about multiple ads, because I think this is going to give everyone a good visual of an optimization path to take when Google's data says otherwise. So I'm going to pull up a client account. Hopefully it's in here. Yep. Client account that we've really just spent primarily just on YouTube since I think like June of last year. So we ran PMax all brand, and so it scaled up only from YouTube. So what's interesting here about this this campaign here is we ramped it up and then ramped it down, and then we restarted somewhere else with a different audience. But check this out here. You'll see that the differences between these two videos here is actually, let me open that up so you can kind of see the titles here a little bit better. We have 59 conversions here versus 13. Spends $5,000 and $3,000 though. So why are click-through rates better here? Our conversion value is better here. Our impressions are way better here, but spend's still pretty high here. So you see there's oddities here. Theoretically, you're like, well, I'll just take this one here and I'm going to cut this one off. Don't. Two things are going to happen. One, it's going to naturally stop spending on the video that isn't producing a good result from an attention-based standpoint. People don't watch. People don't click. People don't even engage. People don't do anything. When that happens, Google will naturally reduce the ad spend. And you'll see that here. If you sort these in my cost, out of 9,000, it went from 5,000, 3,000, $300. These aren't really doing anything. They're getting split conversions. 1.5, 0.96, 1.47, but they're all being derived by these two ads here. So what you look at the ad. Go ahead and find the ad ID. So when you grab ad ID, you take ad ID, start to look at this one here, and then filter by your ad ID. So, okay, what's going on with this one? This one actually ran the entire time to the entire clicks and the entire conversion as my main result. Take the ad ID here, and this ad ID is going to show probably 90% of that graph there. So then we say, okay, well, what about this ad ID? This ad ID here during this time period, it used to get a bunch of clicks, and then it just kind of like chugged along, and then it's been, okay, pause it. You can see how Google has literally told you this is not, I mean, this is week over week data. This isn't day over day. This is week over week. We tested it with clicks. We didn't really get any conversions. The impressions were super high, and then we ignored it. Yeah, we'll give it every now and then. This whole time period here, I just wasted money. So you see that when Google starts to ignore something, when they're not overlapping, building the building blocks up to your main kind of graph, pause it. So you can see that when Google starts to tell you, I'm going to stop spending on this, Google will still take your money. They will. But if it's like, hey, this was really good, like 2.5 months ago, and then has kind of fizzled since then, pause it. But don't pause it. It's like this one plus that one plus this one equals my whole graph. Don't take 1/3 of those out. So hopefully that gives you a good path to identify what is working, what's not. Shopify stats reliable in terms of traffic sources? Absolutely not. 10% accurate. Caden, would you agree?
Maybe 10%.
Yeah, maybe 10%. Oh, you know what? Here, check this out. Watch this. This is it'll throw up in your mouth horrible. So if I go to the back end of this client who we've only run Google, we've only really run YouTube. If you go to the back end of this client here to the same June, you see how this like was wee and then it's tanked off. Well, that's because we went wee and then we tanked off. I mean, they're equally in line. And I spent 30,000 plus 3,000, so 37,000 on YouTube, 17 on PMax. PMax is pretty much primarily the brand. That brand demand that is coming from here is because of YouTube. Well, then Shopify says YouTube since inception's made $11,000 out of the 165 have actually come from YouTube. That's less than 10%. It's like 5. Yeah, or like 7.5, but really, really, really poor, really terrible. Shopify should just get rid of their attribution. It literally doesn't mean anything. So John Moran's dog, which I still love, that's hilarious. For your new PMax shopping strategy, how do you recommend dividing up standard shopping for the best way? The best way if the customer has a lot of products. If the customer has a lot of products, my recommendation, hey, do you do that, Caden?
Maybe.
That's awesome. I thought Restream was just reading my mind. That's so much better. Cool. I'm really bad at podcasting. I do Google Ads.
That's fine. That's why I'm here.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. So for PMax and standard shopping strategy, if you have a lot of SKUs, my recommendation is to group them up by category or brand recognition if they're reselling things. So for example, if you're like, hey, they have shoes and their shoes are all made by ABC company and no one knows who ABC company is. Good. Then take your high heels, make a PMax standard shopping. Take your tennis shoes, PMax standard shopping. Take your running shoes, PMax standard shopping. Group them up categorically because a person interested in tennis shoes probably not going to buy high heels. But a person interested in tennis shoes will buy any tennis shoe. 80% of the time, 90% of the time, probably. So group them up categorically. Now, if you have good brand recognition, which means we have shoes from these 5 major brands, Nikes, Adidas, Puma, whatever it is, then you're going to actually want, my opinion, to start by grouping them up by brand. So a Puma, PMax, and standard shopping. Because anybody looking for Puma, they're going to be able to navigate to all the Pumas. The reason why we do this is because we don't want to build it for the best performance. We want to build it to be able to scale. I can scale categorically. People that buy in this category are going to buy in that category at scale. People that buy Pumas are going to buy Pumas at scale. So don't break them up too much where people are going to enter one campaign and then leave in another campaign because they're coming back to the brand or remarketing. Keep them separated on what do you think the group of products that they're going to click on in that category are going to buy. Group them together. Thanks, dude. This is so much easier. Okay. So I think this is Larry and Dave talking. The guys, get a room. Like, seriously. Like, I mean, like a chat room.
I'm going to jump to it. Let me see if I can jump ahead.
John, did you try manual sales campaign versus Advantage Plus? Manual shopping, or are we talking about like a Facebook manual sales campaign, like a non-Advantage Plus?
I'm guessing it's probably manual shopping versus like Advantage Plus. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Yeah, we've done that a lot. That was actually a pretty good strategy for like 3 months. But the problem is that when we saw the loss of standard shopping attribution, we cranked up our ad spend and Facebook blew up. Because it's like PMax stealing back. It's basically, we got two powerhouses fighting over the same people. It's so annoying. I mean, it's so annoying that being able to take any website traffic and be able to remarket it is going to just mix all this up so much.
All right, let me see what the next question is. Went back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, John, where is your dog still back there? Oh, yes, he's hiding now. Hiding. Oh, dang.
He just rotates.
He always has his head like nearly upside down or like off the edge. It's like his spot just every single time.
When you're 98, you don't get around very well. You have to have fun somehow. So it's like, I'm going to go upside down. Yeah.
Looks like this was potentially the next question.
Oh, any reason offline conversions weren't imported back into Google Ads since conversion track was broken? We actually thought it wasn't broken. And then we paid a lot of money to a very expensive agency or a very expensive service to quote unquote fix conversion tracking that we found out was broken again. Then we paid him again to fix it again. And then the tag went inactive and broke again. This is a very sore subject, Dylan. But essentially, we didn't have access or control over or were paid to fix conversion tracking. They had a team for it that didn't pan out. Yep, I think we answered this one. This is the one that it's not necessarily helping. They're picking up where Facebook left off for this particular instance.
All right. Let's see. I'll read this. Hi, John. I'm not sure where is this next question.
Yeah, we got this one here.
Okay, sweet. All right, so we're actually going through all these pretty quick then.
Yeah.
Let me hide that. What's your budget split for Facebook and Google? I mean, that's kind of like, that kind of varies. That kind of depends on.
Yeah, for this particular one, it's like a 12 grand versus 50 grand a week. Facebook is 50 grand. Google's 12 grand. So that's one of the reasons why there's more available traffic for Google to scoop up. If you were flip-flopping, Facebook Advantage Plus Shopping would have more available traffic to remarket. You're simply using a law of averages and what is available to them. And you can be the master of your own demise or destiny, depending upon where you split that budget.
I think it's a good question. What key metrics shows that two campaigns are competing with each other?
Yes. So one of them, when you're talking about two campaigns in Google, many split conversions. But inside of Google, what's nice is you can use the model comparison tool or even the top conversion path to identify that those are overlapping a lot. Very, very clean. In Omni-channel, what usually happens is if you start to have, like, let's say everything's even. So Facebook and Google are just chugging along and there's really no changes. And all of a sudden a Facebook ad just kind of dies off or a traffic audience gets burnt. Then all of a sudden Facebook starts to do worse and Google starts to go down with it. Like you'll see those things kind of ebbing and flowing at the same rate, but not the same level. So all of a sudden, like Facebook tanks down 20, Google tanks down 10. You probably have seen this if you're working on Google where there's other channels live where it's like, man, my PMax campaign was doing really good. And it just died. I didn't even make any changes. Nothing went out of stock. It just died. That's the first indication to pick up the phone or reach out to the client or talk to their team. Like, what'd you guys do different on Facebook? Because I think we're working together on those people.
Well, I think a key point on that too is like if you can divide up like roughly what your budgets are in terms of like your top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel as well across both channels. Because you can have an understanding of like, okay, this is the baseline. Did we change the percentages? What happened? What was the cause and effect of that? So you start kind of broad and then you kind of work your way more into specifics as you go further along.
Yeah, what we usually do is like it's what Caden's saying. You have your prospect, your remarketing, your acquisition. It's your non-brand, brand, and remarketing. And a lot of times what you could do is if you identify a good segmentation, like Advantage Plus Shopping is segmenting 20 categories in Google, PMax and Smart Shopping is Google is doing 20 segmentations. And you have your DSA and your search built in, blah, blah, and YouTube, blah, blah, blah. But you can say, hey, we're starting to see really good performance on Facebook for this group of products, this category. Mirror that on standard shopping, non-brand, inbound, because the demand's there. People are buying it. Type of season, new product, whatever it is. The demand there is, so push and pull together. Don't wait for Google to auto target and push and pull for you. Keep it manual to a control degree and push and pull as much as you can.
It's kind of a good question, kind of adding on to that too. But how can we know which creatives and content help on each platform, and what is profitable and what isn't? That kind of goes what we're saying.
Yeah. So one thing that's for specifically for YouTube, it's going to be usually it's going to be MER based. Google's data driven. It's up to them to attribute. Unfortunately, it really is. It's like if Google thinks that one video did more simply because it showed 4 more impressions, then it's going to artificially give more to the other. What you should see, though, is that if you make an optimization inside of Google that makes your Google campaign look a little bit worse, a lot of times the end result's going to be a lot worse. So 2 things I like to do. If it's working well, scale. If you don't see a return, that wasn't it. Don't remove first. Scale first. Because if you remove and you're wrong, you got to work yourself back. If you scale first and you're wrong, you still impressed people with ads that may come back later. You have a better chance of earning that money back. If you remove and you're right, no harm. If you scale and you're right, all the money in the world. So the risk versus reward is a lot easier at scale than it is to remove.
Yeah, and I also say too, just look at like the lag time as well. So it gets kind of like an understanding of it. Sometimes you don't, like, if it's a new account, you can't really do that as much unless you have like backend data of that. But if you have an account that's been seasoned for a period of time, you can look at the lag time. If it's like, 7 days, 14 days, whatever that may be, you can use that as kind of a rough indicator of, okay, if I do another YouTube test, what is that, range going to look like for me to see some sort of effect, whether it's good or bad. Not meaning that's going to be, the massaged, like full, built out YouTube campaign that's working. That's going to take a lot longer than that. That's sort of like the first sign sort of comes in when you see that.
Yeah. And then also remember that your lag time can also be indicative of return users that come back 90 days later. That's going to artificially extend that blue line.
Turn off optimized targeting. That's the biggest tip ever. Turn it off. Don't leave it on.
Optimized targeting. But Google should just rename that to like little cash cow. That's all we are.
Remarketing.
I built a remarketing campaign, and it's like, would you like to turn on optimized targeting? It's like, huh? Like, yes, remarket these people and anybody else you want to remarket that apparently don't exist because they're optimized targeting.
I love it. All right. Oh, this is a good question. How do you give new clients the right expectations who have no conversion data in Google, given the new center, new feed, new Google Ads campaigns, and also only import conversions from GA4? Oh boy.
Well, first thing is don't also only import conversions from GA4 because that's one of the reasons probably why you have no conversion data. I'm kidding. So here's one thing. I don't necessarily give expectations. I will set targets. So setting targets is a lot easier than expectations because you can actually use John Moran's dog, which is so funny to call you that. One of the other questions I have is there existing business or not? That's what I don't know. If there's existing business, then I can tell you exactly how to set a reasonable expectation and a target. If not, you have to sit down with the client for, no joke, 2 or 3 days and then hammer that all out because they don't have any sort of guiding light to tell them that, oops, when I make that money, it didn't go good because they haven't made any money yet. So I can give you I'll give you a 10-second rundown because I think this is a really important topic and we'll cover it. You know what? Actually, that'll be next week's live. We'll build a topic on CAC, LTV, MER evaluation to set targets, but I'll give you all a teaser so that you come next week because this is actually really, really cool. This is actually gonna be our next Friday's 2.5-hour internal training. So you'll kind of see the tail end of that a bit after we redo it. But here's a good way to do this. So this is an app called By the Numbers. I like to use this a lot. This is one of our clients month to date compared to previous year. Everything's going good. 77% more sales. New customers are up a bunch. This is all the stuff you're gonna have to look at. So new customers are up 87% year over year, and then they're coming back 44% more. Nailed it. This is good. This is actually a PMax and Smart Shopping client that just started in January 2nd. So wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Year over year is doing good. But here's how you do this. You take out a few different calculators. So for some reason, whenever I use my calculator, I don't know why. There we go. So take your average order value of 40.69. So that's your average order value. Then this is just a year to date, but look at last year because this is going to give you a little bit more data. AOV shouldn't change by too much, but it's going to give you a year's worth of client data. And this is the targets that you have to set for yourself. Let's see what 40, 41. Cool. So it's about the same. So $41, we're going to call it $41 even. Your purchase frequency is 1.26 annual per person. So they purchase 1.26 times. So you multiply that by 1.26. It's a $51.66. If you have a profit margin of 50%, your CAC target needs to be below $25 for you to 2x. It's a real client account, by the way. Now, let's look at this. Let's look at year to date because this is the strategy that we've been implementing. And now let's look at so far what this looks like. So I'm going to pull out a different calculator, and I'm going to look at my average order value, which is going to be $40 and I think 69 cents, 40.69. Multiply that by my frequency of 1.26, even though it's not there yet. 1.26 gives me a 51.25. So if I have a 20 divided by 2, if I have a $25 CAC target, which still didn't change, I should be able to 2x my return. Well, let's log into Northbeam and let's look at these numbers here. If I look at the sale, I'll go on this channel here. I'm going to go into this client account here, and then I'm going to say, well, what's been going on? Well, if I have a $31 CAC and this is 25, okay, my average order value is 47, so a little higher than what the back end told me inside of Shopify, which this takes a couple different offline conversion actions. So just know that this is about correct. But if I get a $31 CAC on a 47, that looks pretty close to a $25 CAC on a 51 LTV, getting me a 2.23 MER. Good. So what we did is basically used our averages. Let me just actually go back like last 60 days. This might be a little bit better of a result. But 60 days, cool. $29 CAC target, $45 AOV, 2.23 MER. See how that kind of lines up there? If I get a $25 CAC, I get a 2. If I get a 29, I get a 2.23. The only change was that my AOV was higher on the first time. It wasn't 40, it was 45. Because I'm comparing last year versus this last 3 months with the new strategy. So all that means is that you can take your AOV, multiply it by your LTV over a year, divide it by your profit margin. That's your CAC ceiling. And your CAC ceiling will depict how much you're going to have a multiple continuously, because that is then going to have compounding year over year performance. And the compounding year over year performance is then going to start to look like this. Scroll down to the bottom here. And now this last year to date, so last 4 months, I've made 9 million in first-time customers, and I got 3.1 million in just great profit. Why? Because my CAC and my AOV are about the same, so I'm earning free customers. And now the question is, how fast do you want to scale free customers to get that $3 million a quarter just landing in your bank account for fun?
We also do that too. I know sales is something that we kind of go into as well too, where like we'll figure out like what the client's overall goals are, and then use that difference of what MER you're at now, what is the new customer acquisition you need to be at, and that kind of gives what your baseline profitability is, and see how much we can scale based off of where their current MER is. So if they're like at a 9x MER and they are okay with the 2x MER, then we'll use that as like, hey, you can get really aggressive towards going after new customers because you have all that space to sacrifice. So
exactly. And actually, here's what's crazy is, remember when I said ROAS doesn't matter when you have LTV? This is to the extreme. Now, it's not going to be like this for everyone, but here's an extreme scenario for everyone. My average order value is 94. My CAC is 91. Man, that sounds stupid. You're getting 100% ROAS. Okay. Then how come every week we can spend 700 grand, 10x it, and get 6.61 million every week? Because I'm buying free customers that come back, and I'm spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a week on free customers. So now this company makes 10 times the amount of money it spends every week. So I'm getting 100% ROAS. Seems pretty stupid, right?
LTV, man, it's the name of the game. LTV is way more important, I feel like, than people realize.
Yep. Cool. What other questions do we have?
We got about a minute. You want to take, I guess, this last one?
I'm good. My next meeting just canceled, so I have some stuff to do, but I can finish these
let's keep it going then.
Are you good, Cade?
Yeah, let's keep it going.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, do you need something like Northbeam to understand the flow? This
is or wait till GA4 gets fixed.
Yeah. For real though. I mean, well, I feel like, I don't know, John, this might be, a hot take on it, but is it possible to sort of like understand the ebb and flow of things inside of just customer paths instead of analytics? So like you use like, you know, new cold traffic campaign and then see what's the most consistent one in the pathways to kind of give you an idea behind it?
You can. The thing that I think is a bigger question is, do you understand automated targeting and automated bidding strategies enough to say, okay, if they got here, I know they came from there. Because I don't need Northbeam to do my job. I usually use Northbeam to prove the concept to the client. I know that if I run brand only, I will look amazing, but no new customers will come in from my efforts. They'll be coming in from other efforts. If everyone here can say, yeah, that's a given, then no, you don't need Northbeam. But if you're asking, well, is brand where new customers come from? Yes. Can you scale it? Yeah, actually you can, until you hit the point where there's no one else looking for you. Then what? So if you're basing off of just ROAS, yeah, you need Northbeam. If you don't know what your new customers are, you're going to need Northbeam. But if you know the splits between your new versus returning customers and what every other channel is doing, how much they're spending, what they're adjusting, and why, you don't need Northbeam. That's, I think, the differentiation. If you're a really savvy marketer, you don't need Northbeam. You already know what those channels are supposed to be doing, and you're measuring MER. But if you're not fully understanding everything that we've been talking about today, you would need Northbeam to teach you that.
It's kind of, I guess this next question is kind of the same question, like reports wise. And I guess kind of building off of what John was saying, you could do like a hand calculated chart, meaning like all money in, all money out for MER, and then use that as sort of like a general guideline and then just track the spend difference. So you can build that in like a Google Sheet or something.
The only thing I would say is your MER, though, is not going to be, in that scenario, you don't have new versus returning customers. So your MER is going to be blended.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So new customer acquisition and MER at the same time, and then the frequency of new customer acquisition, which can be found in Shopify. So you're going to build a report every single week. It's pretty much what it has to be, or every day, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, Northbeam isn't giving you what you can't already find, but it's also like, why do you track conversions in Google Ads? Just look everywhere to see what happened. It's like, okay, that's the same scenario.
Yeah. All right. For GA4 setup, is server-side tracking now the norm or non-negotiable? Seeing big differences in back-end revenue versus GA4 revenue, and client is getting frustrated despite GADs looking good.
I'm not sure what this means. Are you saying that GA4 is looking better or worse in back-end?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because if server-side tracking is what you're using in GADs, but GA4 looks like junk. Yeah. I mean, I still find that GTM is almost as good as server-side tracking. I say server-side tracking, but server-side tracking still doesn't have omni-channel performance. So that's the thing too, where it's like, whether you're going to say I had 325 conversions or 350, 325 in GTM, 350 in server-side tracking. Again, then you have to take a step before that and say, why? Are you getting what type of customers? Are they new? Are they repeat? Are they referral? Automatic targeting? Too much marketing? Not enough marketing? Too much YouTube, where even server-side tracking is not going to track it. So again, understand your conversion path. I actually don't even really use Google Ads conversion tracking anymore to measure results. I look at it from a trend perspective, but I don't actually use it to measure results. I don't. So yes, server-side tracking is going to be better than GTM. My opinion, GTM's 90% is good because it simply says, I got to click in the path. Here is what I need everyone to understand, though, is I want you all to understand the gravity of the question. Because the gravity of the question then allows you to think a little bit differently about, is this the right question that I should be asking or focusing on? It is a good question. I do think that GTM is absolute junk. I mean, sorry, GA4 is absolute junk. But here's what you're asking. This is a conversion path. You're going to show up here in GA4, here in GTM probably. But this is the path that took place. So unless your server-side tracking is saying, I can see all of these paths here in this funnel. I mean, you had 2 Facebook clicks and then nothing for the next 13 visits, the next 4 visits. Then they spent $81. So when you're looking at server-side tracking, you have to track all of this. This is essentially server-side tracking. This is what I use, but I use server-side tracking Omni-channel. Because when you're looking at the attribution models, it's like, okay, is it this feed only, that feed only, those 4 feed only, or that feed only? Well, what's it doesn't matter. That's one small piece. This is a sliver of what actually took place. Do you know they came organically? Oh, well, shit. Google Ads didn't do anything. So know that tracking is going to be good, but that's a 1/10 of the story. So get really good at top conversion path because you find out what really matters.
I think it just comes down to like pretty much how much information you're going to be able to feed the algorithm and massage it, and then kind of go from there. Not really as like a metric to look at and say, okay, this is right or wrong kind of thing.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. GA4 and server side. I mean, what's funny is we have a client that we had GTM that was working fine. He did GA4. Then he's been feeding server side back into GA4 and it's still not right.
It's a nightmare.
Okay, that's your client. So I just pressed a button there for you. Sorry.
God.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. About the multi-channel scale. If we
That's
count,
actually multi-channel Akayele.
yeah, that's right. I should have said that. My bad.
I'm just kidding.
Oops. If we count on Mer and to Facebook and Google work together, but how can we know which creatives and content help on each platform and what's profitable and what isn't? I think
Yes,
that's a
so
question.
it is good. It's going to be your law of averages, though. So if you're looking at GA4, I'm still thinking about GA4. If you're looking at Facebook and Instagram, your conversion tracking in that platform is accurate. If you're looking at Google, the conversion tracking in that platform is accurate. Right now, what you're looking at is, does someone see a bad ad, then a good ad? Mm-hmm. Does someone also see then a good ad, then a bad ad? Yes. But if someone sees a good ad, then a good ad, that's what you're going to want to optimize for. So you can still optimize towards what is working inside of those channels. And that's going to have a better result on your MER. I have a client that we actually just completely revised. I made 367 changes last week in their account. I had some downtime in a hotel and I literally just spent 2 hours just pile driving through last year's worth of data in order to optimize this client's account. I shut off ads that looked like they were doing good that actually weren't. And so what ended up happening from April 4th through yesterday compared to the previous period, and this is going through Easter, is we saw this result. Now we're only running Google, but of course, even Northbeam can't track all of the conversions. But you can see here that I spent 20% more, 64% more revenue. Every single channel got better because I'm feeding everyone. I'm 39 of the 41,000 in ad spend, and then there's YouTube. This Facebook isn't even spending anything. But it put me 36% higher with 46% more results. And all I did was simply optimize what was working best in Google, and everything else worked best. This is still exactly true for Facebook. You can still if you make these same changes in Facebook that I did in Google and we did them together, it's going to be better the result. It just so happens that the only thing that this company is relying on is my 5 campaigns. So that's where you can see is, yes, there is going to be overlap of bad and good and good and bad and bad and bad. But if you're only optimized towards the good and good, you're going to have combined a better result. It means a faster scale, more adoption, better click-through rate, etc.
Sweet.
Yeah.
If you don't have Northbeam, how do you analyze all channels and conversion path from a holistic perspective? I guess we shouldn't rely on Google Analytics data.
No, do not rely on Google Analytics. When you're looking at and that's what I'm saying is like, I helped build Northbeam to what I need. So it's hard for me to say if you don't have Northbeam. I needed Northbeam. I know what I know today because of Northbeam. It proved concepts. It's arrogant and stupid for me to be like, just do what I did and learn this stuff until 2 a.m. every night for the last 7 years. Like it will help. I think Northbeam also reduced the pricing. Again, for record, I don't make a dime if any one of you buys Northbeam. By the way, I do not make a physical cent if you guys buy Northbeam or not. I have an affiliate link if you want to use it, but I don't give that out because I'm not selfish. You could buy Northbeam or not. It does not change my daily life. What I do say, though, is that the Northbeam tool will prove those concepts. And when you start to make changes, you can see where it actually affects inside of the actual back end of the ecosystem and say, aha, why is it when I pushed YouTube, I got more organic traffic? Are you running brand? No, I'm not. What if you put more brand in there? Would your brand campaign get a better result than your organic traffic did? That's where those users came back. good idea. Let's maybe spend a little bit more there. Actually, my conversion rate on organic was 4. On my brand, it's 12, and now I'm scaling faster. You can't do that without Northbeam unless you just know everywhere to look. I pushed YouTube, go into the back end of analytics and UA because GA4 is stupid now. Look at what the first touch point was versus the last touch point. Remove direct, and then identify where the first versus last touch point in UA's top conversion path was. That'll get you fairly close. And then hopefully nothing happened in Facebook that week, because then you got to go and look at Facebook and be like, what ad changes happened in Facebook? What spends happened? And then look at Instagram, and then look at TikTok. And then, so if you want to go and hunt individual, you can. You don't need Northbeam, but it's up to you whether you want it consolidated or not. It's simply a report. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think controlled testing is sort of like the thing you have to think about then at that point. It's like, okay, don't touch any other medium. Okay, we'll do this, see what happens kind of thing.
Yeah, and then hopefully the Facebook team that you're kind of quote unquote competing against in the eyes of your consumer are just going to be okay with them not making any optimizations that week. That usually doesn't happen.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going to jump through a couple of these. Here we go. Here's one. For your new PMax / shopping strategy, how do you recommend dividing up standard shopping for the best way if the customer has a lot of products?
Yeah, I think we went through that one. That was a categorical versus brand.
Yep. All right, next one. Any thoughts on figuring out what a defunct competitor's domain is worth if ranks first organically but low search volume? Have been looking at top impression share, CPM on brand.
I really wouldn't give too much weight to it. Our client at one point was Sky Mall. I'm not sure if anybody remembers Sky Mall, but that was the magazine that was in every single airline. That was in every single airplane in front of your seat. It was the, Sky Malls. It was shop while you're on the plane. Great idea. We had a client buy Sky Mall and then hire us to fix it. And then the people that were going there, the brand was not that great. I mean, no one right now, Sky Mall was one of the biggest. It was Amazon of the skies. If you don't remember what it is, what means you're going to wake up one day and be like, wait, Sky Mall, that was a thing, and then go and search for it. So you have to, if the low search volume is happening organically, it means that people looking for that brand aren't searching for it anymore. My opinion, you're going to spend twice as much trying to revive it than you would building a new company, my opinion.
Can you share or talk about how you set up / configure settings for using call tracking metrics? Any pro tips or best practices when using CTM, their GADC and Google Ads? Thank you.
I don't really have any pro tips, but best practices is just make sure you link your CTM to Google by using their script. When you use the script, you can put whatever phone number you want in the calls from ads, so they can track the difference. My opinion would actually be to track all of the ways that people call. So a direct user is different than an organic user, who's different than a UTM parameter user. That's also different than a Facebook, blah, blah, blah. So as many sources as you can track in the back end of CTM allows you to say, wait a minute, I push a little more YouTube, the organic calls start to increase. So that's the thing too, is when you track those, it's the same thing as e-commerce. Just treat it just like e-commerce. Would you want everything coming in as direct? No, don't have everything coming in one phone number. Try to segment them out as much as you can. This way you can push and pull based on call volume. And then listen to every single phone call and manually approve it or deny it before it gets counted as a conversion action. We have a team of people that listens to thousands of calls a day at our company and will mark a good or bad call based on, did they have the intent and did they have the purpose of doing business with our client? If not, it doesn't get marked as a call. And then if it gets marked as a good quality call in call tracking metrics, then it goes to Google as a conversion. And it's under a different conversion action. It's not calls from ads. We remove that one. We develop a new calls from ads, and then we import those based on calls after they've been approved, and we listen to it every 2 days.
Sweet.
That's a pro tip, actually. It just, if you want to dedicate your entire life to listening to your client phone calls, that's a good idea. It sucks though. Sorry, Harsh. That's all you did.
It looks like Dave answered the next question. Thanks, Dave. All right. Ooh, here's one. Oh gosh, this is going to be a big question for you, John. What's generally the best attribution model? Data-driven, first click, or last click?
Data driven, actually. It's just because it actually gets the most amount of view engaged conversions than first or last click. So it's a default winner just because of that fun fact right there.
And Google's already got rid of pretty much first click. So
I know it's last click or data. You know what's so funny? It's like, sure, you want it in your brand or do you want it in your brand? God damn it.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. Yeah. Like, I mean, I understand it. I understand the incentive behind it. It's just kind of like, huh, okay.
That's because
Like,
first click never really worked. It lost so much attribution between the first click and the last click. They're like, fine, we can't see anything after 3 days. Just shove it on the end, or what we think happened.
let's see. I think, let's see if I can find another one. Just kind of a comment. In the meantime, GFR looking way worse, but GAD's tracking is using GCM setup.
Yeah, that makes sense. GA4 is it's a dumpster fire. I'd pay Google to allow me to keep using UA, by the way. I'd pay $39.99 a month for UA.
Putting that out in the ether, see if someone from Google picks it up.
I would pay Google.
Thank you, John, about YouTube. How should I know when I should pause an audience and not videos? 18K and not close to KPIs, click-through rate and view rate is enough to know?
So by look at your MER, you have to. I'll give you a really good example. Here's the craziness. I know this sounds stupid, but it's always dependent upon if they click and then convert in a short time period before Google loses tracking on them. So I'm going to give you a year's worth of result and over $30,000 worth of ad spend. And what you're going to find out in this client is that we show 0 sales in Google, but after a year of a 0.1 return, our client has actually done better. So don't look at Google ads to measure solely, to measure YouTube performance. It is a good indication that things are happening, but if you're showing, let's say, short form videos that there's not a call to action, it doesn't matter. I mean, if it's just like, hey, this is a great Stanley water bottle and I love it. And you're like, that's pretty cool. Did you click on the ad? No, but you know what this is? A Stanley water bottle. So you didn't click on the ad, so Google's not going to be able to attribute a lot to you. But if it's like, click 10% off for this Stanley water bottle, okay, and then I'm going to click and get 10% off. Your results will go up 10x in Google. That's it. So looking here, when I'm looking at this is a client that we spent, you'll see in YouTube ads. I spent, since April 12th to April 12th, last 366 days, I didn't spend a dime more on Google. I didn't spend a dime more on Facebook, but I spent 1,000% more on YouTube ads. I spent $36,000 to make 3,500. Looks like cost per conversion is 2,500. Now you can see here that Facebook ads started to get better result and Google ads started to get a better result. And collectively, we went up to 12. I didn't add any in Facebook. We ran Advantage Plus Shopping. The Advantage Plus Shopping was bringing more people, not bringing more people, was having more people come to the site and getting a better result. Now they were coming into here because we did have more and more traffic coming from organic and things that are like Linktree and things that people were finding about us and like share a sale. So we had a bunch of like different offers. Organic had 70% increase in organic traffic, up to 66,000 more new users. The only thing we did was run YouTube. So this failed. No one in their right mind in the world would run $37,000 at a 0.1 ROAS. But then you look at the top line, it looks great. Click and views actually gets us a little closer. Click and views says, hey, your YouTube ads are actually getting you a 1.57. 1.57 is good when I can split 1.5, or I can split a 4 down to a 2.5 with Facebook, down to a 1.5 with Google, and then we end up increasing it. So my question to you, Maya, would be, how does a 3.3, a 2.4, and a 1.57 equal a 5.9? It's immeasurable. These users were using YouTube Shorts. We're running YouTube Shorts. Shorts are not clicked on very often. It doesn't matter. The impact was there. I just couldn't measure it. So usually a good rule of thumb is if Google's still pushing ad spend to it, there is some benefit there. They're watching. They're not skipping. They're clicking. Not all of them, but measure before and after turning on YouTube ads, what has been your total revenue and sales. Start there first, and then we can whittle down to what is your metrics that you need to watch. As long as I get over a 1.57 click and view or a 1 in Google, as long as I have the literally barest amount of minimal traffic possible, yeah, works great. Stupid way of measuring it, but I have a year's worth of data. And also I ran $880,000 since June of my own company based on this model at a $4,500 cost per lead, which in actuality is about 400. Google says everything's on fire. Analytics and our business say otherwise.
Direct and organic. That's where it's at.
Bingo.
All right. Are all of your purchase conversions via GTM using enhanced conversions?
Like 50-50, maybe. I see no difference between enhanced and non-enhanced. It didn't actually change anything for us. I think enhanced came out when they thought that the 14.5 was really going to hurt us, and it didn't, because we're not app-based, we're browser-based. Google's like, it could be up to 20%. Yes, they had one case study in the history of the world that was like 19.7. Everyone else is averaging like 2.5.
Cool. And that's all our questions, John.
Hey, we did it. That was an hour and 20 minutes of class and rapid fire. So I appreciate everyone. Thank you so much. If you can, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. Tell your grandma. I mean, if everyone tells their grandma, we'd have like 34 more subscribers right now. So I appreciate everyone. Thank you so much.